After I put one ring on Rainey's finger, but before I added another one, we recruited a wedding photographer. His name was Jack. We liked him because he had dreads. He also had a wonderful eye and took beautiful pictures. While Rainey and I were preparing for the wedding, my parents decided to sell the rent house. I had loved that house. It had contained my life, and it had helped make many of my ideas tangible in the form of invisible patterns on magnetic tape. And now we had to clean it up and say goodbye forever. While cleaning it, we found a cat. She was stuck in the fence, so we saved her. We named her Parker for obvious reasons, and she came to live with me, Thomas, and Pumpkin. Then I started applying to graduate schools because I found my freelance work lacking stability and the odd jobs soul-crushing. After Rainey and I got back from Hawaii, I started feeling very guilty about having not made any films while in Houston. I had no visual record of my time there, and that would never do. I decided to shoot the fake commercials for Prophecy Beer. We set a date. Don and Cameron would drive down from Austin, and they would act in it with me. Jack, our wedding photographer, though he had never shot a film, would be the director of photography. Rainey would be Starla the waitress. We would shoot at the Black Labrador, where Rainey and I liked to throw darts and hit a door, and at the Thornwood Gallery, where Don's mom sold paintings. At about 9 o'clock the night before our shoot, Rainey and I went to the Black Lab for dinner, and one last look around so I could decide on camera angles and placement. I did not know it then, but would come to know very soon that a malicious contagion had entered my body, and it was up to no good. At 6 o'clock the next morning, 1 hour before my call time at the Black Lab and after exactly 0 hours of sleep for me, I realized I was in no condition to shoot a film, no matter how short. Rainey called everyone and canceled. My heart sank, and my stomach lurched again, which was an odd sensation. The planets had had to align to get everyone in one place at the same time, and I'd blown it. Owing to a heavy work schedule, Cameron would not be able to come back to Houston anytime soon. And again, unbeknownst to me, another contagion had arrived on the scene, and this time it affected Rainey, and this time it was named the Epstein-Barr virus. My wife had mono, so now she was out of any possible reshoot. Then, a ray of light. Don's mom had a birthday coming up the first weekend in March. Don would be in town. Krausen had moved to Houston as well, and he would fill in for Cameron in front of the camera. Jack would have to juggle his schedule, but he committed. The Black Lab and Thornwood Gallery both accepted my very earnest apologies and allowed us to reschedule our invasion of their buildings. I called all the actresses I knew and found one who would work on short notice. Rainey's dad, my father-in-law, agreed to appear in the segment shooting at Thornwood, though he'd never acted before. On unrelated business, I called Video Perspective, my sometime employer, and they mentioned they'd just bought a high-definition video camera. I asked them if I could rent it, and the answer was yes. Action, cut, print. I got the footage home and learned the microphone had not been connected properly in any of the wide shots. No audio. As dumb luck would have it, Don Krausen and I are acting machines, and our dialogue from other takes lined up reasonably well in the wides.
Prophecy? What do you mean?
Then, as I cut the second of the commercials, I noticed
Hell yeah, it's the
a
beer that
flaw
predicts whether or not you're gonna get
in
lucky.
my
How does it work?
masterful design.
Sometimes it doesn't have very much.
We have a wide shot, then we have Krausen looking over his shoulder at our hot girl at the bar. We have the wide shot, then we have Krausen looking over his shoulder at... We needed a shot of the hot girl at the bar. Without it, the sequence does not and cannot work. I didn't know that when we shot. I had no shot of the hot girl at the bar. The only thing I had was several years' experience doing composite and animation work. I didn't have a shot I needed, so I conjured one. And that brings us back to where we started, which is not such a bad place to stop. I wanted to track an idea from its inception to its quintessence, and now that I've tried, I'm not sure it's something that can be done with any degree of accuracy. Though it runs contrary to nature and everything around us, we strive to turn things without form into things tangible. Like running a film backward. You take ash, you add fire, and you turn it into wood. You turn it into a forest. It's contrary to everything around us, contrary to everything we perceive, contrary to thermodynamics, but it's profoundly human, because we are contrarians. We seek to make Earth out of smoke and bring order out of chaos, because we prefer order. The story of Prophecy Beer is the story of a tenure, I guess. It's the story of my life in Houston. Right after I shot it, I got accepted to the University of Southern California's graduate screenwriting program, and I finished editing it just before we had to move. Prophecy represented the sum total of a chapter in my life. In a very real way, all the roads I'd traveled in that town had led to this one silly film. And by an accident of the calendar, when production on it ended, so did that chapter of my life. It was sad. Rainey started getting over mono, and we put the house on the market. We made it beautiful, and then we rented a large yellow truck and put all of our belongings into it and spent our last night in Houston, in Texas, where we were both born, and my last night in my house, which had given birth to my affinity for cats and my marriage and about 700 pages of fiction, and lastly, to Prophecy Beer. We'll